Hey guys, it's off-brand farmer Brando, and we're about to start some chisel plowing. So let's get the throttle there. It's already in gear. The chisel plow lifted up, and we're gonna start going this way. So on this chisel plow, we have this handy auto steering button. So I don't actually have to be touching the wheel. I can just set it on the row and it'll just take it all the way down the row in a perfectly straight line. Chisel plowing. So basically what I'm here for is at the end, when I have to turn around, we have to turn around manually, and I'll show you that once we reach the end. And making sure nothing goes wrong, because the chisel plow does break. Some of those discs could become wobbly. Then we need to take the whole thing apart and fix it, which is a pain, but it happens. Yeah, off-brand is in, I'm actually Brandon's nephew. He's just gone today, and I'm chisel plowing, so I'm streaming on his account. Because why not? Hey Danielle. I'm not sure exactly how heavy it is, but it's heavy enough that this ground, like, it digs up the ground that, you know, semis have driven on, fully loaded semis with corn, so it's got to be really heavy. And it doesn't go insanely deep, just enough to kind of turn the ground over, as you can see. Not sure if you can see very well. I gotta say, today's one of those days I kind of wish the tractor didn't have a cab, because it feels like the first day of spring outside. It's just beautiful weather. I had to run all the way over there to get to my truck when I went in for lunch, and it's just gorgeous. Alright, I'm not sure I can keep a good angle while I turn it around, but I'll do my best. Oh, look at that. You have the real farmer Brando in the comments. Cool. Yeah, it's probably around 63, but it's been fairly cold lately, so even 63 would feel pretty warm. But it's great because the ground's not frozen at all. It's turning up. that field over there, you really can't see it. It's more just a dark line on the horizon. That's the one I just finished. And so I started on this field, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so ago. And that dark area is everything I've done so far. So I have this much left, which is a lot when you're only going 5.5 miles an hour. Let me switch it up to high. Oh, we're going normal speed. We are in Illinois, northern Illinois. Does that say Saudi Arabia? Oh, okay, cool, South Africa. You know, I wasn't too far off. At least it would have worked. Hey, Sarah. No, it's northern Illinois. So not too far off, but yeah. No, we do have different fertilizers we lay down, but no, manure's not generally one of them. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's definitely no snow around here. That would have been long gone. How warm it is today. Hey, Marco. Bread Gamer, that's an interesting name. That was not the best turnaround. So we have this GPS tracker here. It kind of tells you where you are in line with the road. And so you can kind of base where you're supposed to be off of that. But you also have to eyeball it a lot because it doesn't update perfectly. And obviously when you're turning, you can't just turn straight onto the line. So it's a little bit more complicated to turn around than it can sometimes seem, given you have that little marker showing you exactly where the line you're supposed to be on is. You know what the great part about sharing a tractor is I was thirsty and there was an unopened water bottle just right down there. So now I didn't even have to go back in the house for water. I'm not sure whose it was, but it was unopened, so I consider it fair game. I'm gonna stand this up this time and see, you guys can see what the plow looks like once I turn around. No, Northern Illinois. Well, we've got a couple of flurries and none of it stuck. But today's almost 70, so any snow we would have had would be long gone by now. But it's convenient for chisel plowing because once the ground's too frozen, you can't chisel plow anymore. So, kind of enjoy the warm weather. Yep, we got the two there, and then the rear four as well. So because a chisel plow isn't made for turning, you have to pull it up every time you turn around. So that's what this little button here does. You pull it up and it goes up, you push it down and the chisel goes back down. So obviously right now it's down because we're plowing, but as I turn, I'm gonna pull this up right as it leaves, right basically at the last moment before I have to turn. and that'll keep it from breaking, from dragging sideways. Yeah, honestly, it's one of the more relaxing jobs on the farm, especially with the auto steering. Not to mention, you create these awesome lines because it gets so much darker where you've plowed, so it's kind of, that definitely adds to the effect. Just seeing the lines you make and seeing all your progress versus all the work ahead of you. It is pretty great. So the reason there's just a lone strip there of stuff we haven't done yet is because we plow at an angle compared to all these fields. You can see that. And I'm gonna have to take a break from explaining this real quick while I turn around. So basically, we did all of that, but because we don't want to drive over what we plowed, we're holding off on doing this because we're gonna have to turn around there until after we've done these smaller fields. To see how I'm turning around on this? So if this was plowed, I'd be packing it down even more, which is exactly what we want to avoid. This is a John Deere 9300. Yeah, kind of a mix of all of them, actually. Depends on my mood, but podcast if I want to learn something, and music if I want to, you know, have more of a relaxing time, and then just thinking sometimes. Honestly, I've been breaking out the Christmas music already. Trying to get into the season, but I mean, I have kind of a hot take that Christmas music is good all year round. No, this is all just corn stubble. This is just how it looks after the combine's gone over. So you have the corn stubble here, and then over there you have bean stubble. You probably can't see a huge difference on stream, but they do look significantly different. Alright. So I got a little bumpy there and the phone fell, but well, the corn itself that we harvest is, I believe, used for a mix of both. We don't use it ourselves, we sell it, but yeah, it depends kind of who you're selling it to, what it's actually going to be used for. So, because I'm not actually Brandon, I can ask this. Who's your guys' favorite YouTubers? Yeah, definitely some ethanol. Thanks, Sonny. I appreciate that. I do too. Normally I'm not a farmer, but I mean, I love the work, that's for sure. And no, some of the hours you have to work as a farmer are unbelievable. So, a lot of respect to them. So right now we're going kind of 6.3, 6.4 miles an hour, which is why this takes so long, because you're going back and forth on the field just over 6 miles an hour. Time adds up. I don't know that much Spanish, but if you're saying hello, greetings from Spain, then greetings from America. Nope, just all crops. Well, we have our little chicken flock at home, but no cattle. We also have a growing, what do you call that? Growing group of cats, or a growing family of cats. They don't do too much for the farm though, other than catching mice and rats. Sometimes they don't do too well at that, but I guess they're handy to have around. Patrick, I'm not sure because I am not actually in charge of this farm. Matt, that's a nice poem you got there. So for any of you who missed it earlier, because there weren't as many people on the stream when I announced it, I'm not actually Farmer Brando, I'm the off-brand version, so I won't have the answers to all your questions, but definitely throw them out, especially because the real Brandon's in the chat. can hear the raps coming together in my mind. Really spitting the bars. I gotta say though, if you're speaking with facts, I don't know if it could be all caps. Because a cap and a fact just don't mix normally. Oh, it is, yeah. It is a beautiful sunny day. You got the sun way up there. It's almost a little hot in this cab. I'm actually from Maine, and we've been having, I'm not sure exactly how cold it's been, but we've been having snow for the past probably like, I don't know, a week or so. Not a ton, not a load, but definitely some. So, 67-degree day feels really nice actually. Feels almost like summertime. I'm not sure what this squeaking noise is. It's coming from somewhere over here. It's been there as long as I can remember. Oh, a straw hat would be great. Then I'd have that old iconic farmer look. It's the kind of thing you think about after a long day of farming, go down and lay down, take a nap by the stream type of thing. It's a picture I'm getting in my mind with the straw hat. Hey, Mexico's not far from where I live. Probably between half an hour and 45 minutes away. But I know a couple of people who live in Mexico. Honestly, I don't mind the windmills. To me, well, like, I guess I have heard remarks about the noise, but you get used to it really quickly if you live here. So I don't even notice the noise anymore. I feel like the windmills are just kind of an iconic part of the landscape by now, though. Especially at night when all the lights are blinking red on them. Hey, Todd. UK. Welcome. I was actually in England not too long ago, and they had a lot of sheep. Is the whole UK kind of that way? A lot of sheep farming? It happens. Fortunately, we got a beautiful day here. Alright, I'll see ya. See you when you get back, I guess. So for any of you who missed it, that's a real farmer Brando in the chat. And I'm just his doppelganger or replacement or whatever, chisel plowing today. I don't know if you guys can hear. Once you reach the end of the rows, that's when kind of the tractor bogs down a little and we slow down. And the reason for that is those are the head rows, so that's pretty much what all the heavy equipment drives on all throughout harvest. So the semi, the combine, the grain carts, generally speaking, will drive on that more than anywhere else in the field. And so it's really packed down. That's why the tractor bogs down a little as we reach the end. Definitely some noise comes from me raising and lowering the plow, but for the probably like 3 or so seconds before I do that, and it's bogging down, yeah, that's just all really packed down soil. Alright, I'm gonna try to find a better spot to set my phone when I'm turning around. I'm also plugged in now. My phone's at 4%, so kind of limits my mobility, but I'll do my best because I don't really want you looking at nothing every time I turn around. So this tractor has the 2-speed range. So you have your normal 1, 2, and 3, and then you also, on this one, have A, B, C, and D. So it's kind of a whole range that you can choose. And you have a list here of pretty much the maximum miles an hour per gear combination. And then on top of that, you have high and low, and your throttle, of course. And then one of my favorite features is you have the AC, so it makes it a lot better sometimes. Hey, I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but welcome. So I think you guys can probably see the pattern I'm doing, where I'll skip a row and then turn around and do that row the next time. The reason for doing that is because you don't want to turn too sharply with this tractor. And putting in that buffer row there means you don't have to land exactly next to where you just did. Especially because as you turn around, you try to not drive on the other stuff all that much. And so you don't have to turn as sharply. Because to turn really sharply, you have to drive a little ways and then be able to get back in your row. So that's what that buffer row is for. So how's everyone's Friday afternoon going? Is anyone up to anything remarkable? Anything worth putting in the comments? So if you see that fence over there, I'm not sure how visible it is, but there's a fence over there, over by the trees, and because I'm going at a tilt, I'm gonna have to stop doing completely straight lines as I hit that, and pretty much do them in different sections. So it's all the same field, but over there you have a big section, over here you have a big section, and then over there you have the neighbors. So it's gonna have to be done in two different sections for that part. I'm honestly not sure, and it also depends on the size of the field, because obviously turnaround time takes a little bit of time and you're not actually plowing anything. And so for those rows over there, you can see they go from all the way over there to all the way over there. Those, I believe I timed them, and you get about 8 minutes before you have to turn around. And so you're gonna finish 100 acres on rows like that a lot sooner than, say, a tiny little section like that where you're turning around every minute or so. But if you wanted to do the math, we have a 17.5-foot plow, and we're going about 6 miles an hour right now, so. really depends on the day. I mean, some days we're gonna have people running the chisel like all the time. It kind of depends on how deep we are into the chisel plowing. Because if we have, say, a freeze or a bunch of rain coming up, then we're gonna try to get a bunch of chisel plowing done, because we can't plow in the frozen ground or in crazy wet ground. But, you know, on a normal day, we'd be less desperate to get the field done, so we might do less. So I believe this will be our last actual long row. This pass back or that one. Because after that, we are going to be moving to that section over there, because we pretty much plowed to the fence here. So then we're going to do that section and that section. And then over there, we have the long rows that we weren't able to finish until we did that section and this section over here. So we're gonna do those after. And all the bean field stays unplowed, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you could really hear soil's packed down there. The moment I went in, just a really really bogged down tractor. Alright, so I'm going to have to figure out what exactly I'm doing here, because obviously we're not going to make it past this fence here. So, more than likely we'll go along with the fence, do that row, come back on this row, and then probably just work our way over in this field after that. One of the hardest parts about chisel plowing is that you have stuff like this fence on the side here, and you want to plow right up to the fence, but at the same time, you know, if you knock that fence over, that's going to be a really big problem. So it's kind of finding that balance between getting too close for comfort to the fence and getting as much field as you can plowed. Yep, after this, we're basically done with the field for the entire winter. You're right. Every once in a while, the fertilizer guy won't get the field done before we chisel plow it. And so, if that were the case, then chisel plowing wouldn't technically be the last step for the field, but more times than not, we really like to get the field fertilized before we start plowing. You know what's interesting is you can see the windmills are going. Earlier, they weren't. So it's just kind of one of those things that changes throughout the day. And I can't really notice the wind because I'm in my cab, but... Oh, my favorite tractor. Man, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, I love driving the semi. That's what I did all last year for harvest. And that was an absolute blast. But, I mean, it's debatable whether that would qualify as a real tractor. But, 9300's fun. I think pulling the big dump cart is also a lot of fun. Because just the way the tractor's set up, you have this little paddle shifter with your fingers. And you just fly across the fields, because your goal is to get back to the combine as fast as possible. So that's kind of a fun, exciting way to drive a tractor, but... yeah, that's a tough question. I really do like this 9300, and part of the reason is just because it's fun to drive such a big tractor. It just makes you feel like, I don't know, that confidence that you take up the entire road and more pulling the chisel plow. But it also doesn't have the features like the 4020 has the bucket, and obviously the grain carts, the 4640, 8410, they all have the hydraulics. And so, yeah, it's really tough to say. Alright, this is going to get boring because I can't really hold the phone while I'm doing these rows. They're too short. tractor really struggling with this bit. And if it struggles too much, I'll have to pull it out before pull the plow out of the ground before it'll actually stall out. If it just stops, it has stalled out on me.